Explorers, and welcome to our Story Corner. Are you ready for a brand new adventure? Today, we're venturing deep into a magical forest to meet a very clever fox. Let's find out what lesson he learns. In a dense, green forest, where sunbeams danced through the leaves, lived a quick and clever fox named Rico. Rico wasn't just clever, he loved letting everyone know it. Whenever the animals of the forest gathered, you could hear Rico's voice rise above the chatter. "Who can solve any problem in this forest?" He would boast, his chest puffed out with pride. The squirrels would stop nibbling their nuts, and the rabbits would pause their games, all listening to Rico's grand claims. He was fast, he was smart, and he was very, very confident. One bright and sunny morning, a commotion stirred the usual peace of the forest. Rico, always curious, trotted over to see what was happening. Near the sparkling river that wound its way through the trees, a huge, heavy wooden log had fallen right across the main path. It was so big that it completely blocked the way for everyone. A family of deer stood on one side, unable to get to the berry bushes. A group of badgers on the other side couldn't reach their burrow. All the animals stood around, looking worried and helpless. They whispered amongst themselves, wondering what to do. Seeing the crowd, Rico saw his chance to shine. He pushed his way to the front, a wide smirk on his face. Well, what do we have here?" he said loudly, making sure everyone could hear him. "Don't you worry, my friends. This is easy." He waved a paw dismissively. "Just leave it to the expert. Leave it to me." The other animals watched, hopeful. Maybe Rico really could solve this problem all by himself. Rico rolled up his imaginary sleeves and approached the massive log. First, he tried pushing it. Slot. He braced his paws against the rough bark and pushed with all his might. His face turned red, his muscles strained, but the log didn't budge. Not even a single inch. Just warming up," Rico mumbled, trying to look cool. Next, he went to the other side and tried pulling it. He grabbed a stray root sticking out from the log and pulled. The log wobbled slightly, then rolled back and splashed a huge wave of muddy water right onto Rico's beautiful red fur. Splish, splash! Rico was covered in mud from his nose to the tip of his tail. The younger animals giggled, but quickly covered their mouths when Rico glared at them. He laughed nervously, trying to pretend it was all part of his brilliant plan. "Just testing the stability of the ground," he said, shaking the mud from his ears. But inside, he was starting to feel a little frustrated and embarrassed. The log was much heavier and more stubborn than he had expected. Watching from a short distance away was an old, wise buffalo named Baloo. Baloo was known throughout the forest for his incredible strength. But he was also very quiet and humble. He rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. He had been watching Rico's struggles patiently, a calm look in his gentle eyes. Seeing Rico covered in mud and getting nowhere, Baloo decided to offer some advice. He walked slowly toward the fox and said in his deep, calm voice, "Rico, strength and wisdom work better together. Perhaps we can all help." But Rico was too proud to listen. He glanced at the old buffalo and scoffed. "I don't need help, Baloo," he snapped, turning his back. "I have this under control. I just need to think of a cleverer way." He started pacing back and forth, muttering to himself, trying to come up with another grand idea that he could perform all on his own. He wanted to be the hero of the story, the one who solved the problem single-handedly. The other animals watched, their hopes starting to fade. The sun was getting higher in the sky, and the path was still blocked. Just then, a tiny creature made its way through the crowd. It was a small ant named Chinny. She was so small that some of the bigger animals didn't even notice her at first. But Chinny had a sharp mind and even sharper eyes. She didn't try to push or pull the log. Instead, she crawled right up to it and began to examine the ground all around it, her little antennae twitching. She crawled underneath a small gap and then reappeared on the other side. After a few moments of careful inspection, she stood up as tall as an ant could and spoke in a surprisingly clear voice. "Thorgal, the log isn't just heavy," Chinny announced to the waiting crowd. "It's stuck because the ground here is dry and hard. It's digging into the dirt." She pointed a tiny leg towards the river. "But look how close we are to the water. If we can get the ground wet, the mud will become slippery. If it touches the water, the log will become buoyant and much easier to move." A hush fell over the animals as they considered the ant's simple but brilliant idea. It made perfect sense. Suddenly, everyone was filled with a new sense of purpose. It wasn't about one hero. It was about working together. The beavers, with their strong tails, started slapping water from the river onto the ground around the log. The elephants used their long trunks like hoses, spraying water underneath it. The monkeys grabbed large leaves, filled them with water, and poured it along the log's length. Soon, the dry, hard dirt turned into soft, slippery mud. The log, now wet and slick, began to shift, with a final, coordinated push from Baloo the buffalo and a few other strong animals. The log started to roll. Slowly at first, and then faster and faster, the huge log rolled down the slight slope towards the river. With a great splash, it fell into the water and was carried away by the current, clearing the path completely. The animals cheered. They hopped and danced and celebrated their success. They congratulated Chinny for her smart observation and thanked Baloo for his strength and everyone else for their hard work. The path was clear, and they had done it together. And where was Rico during all this? He stood silently to the side, his fur still damp and muddy. He watched as the community celebrated. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't boasting. He wasn't the center of attention. He realized that his cleverness alone wasn't enough. Chinny's observation, Baloo's strength, and the teamwork of everyone else had solved a problem that he couldn't solve by himself. He felt a pang of shame, but also a glimmer of understanding. From that day on, Rico changed. He was still the same quick and clever fox, but he was also a little more humble and a lot more willing to listen. He still used his brilliant mind to help solve problems, but he never ignored the ideas of others again. He learned that true wisdom isn't about knowing everything yourself. It's about being smart enough to listen to the wisdom around you. And he discovered that the greatest successes, the ones that feel the best, are the ones that are shared. And so, our story comes to an end. What a wonderful lesson Rico learned, didn't he? It shows us that true wisdom listens, and real success comes from teamwork. No one is too small to have a big idea, and no problem is too big when we face it together. I hope you enjoyed our tale of the clever fox and the heavy log. Remember to always be kind, listen to your friends, and never be afraid to ask for help. Thank you so much for joining me today, my little story explorers. If you loved our adventure, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more magical stories. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.